much.
Any questions? Councilor Kolodzie.
Mr. Chairman, to you, sir. There was an assertion earlier today that this was an information commercial put out by you. Could you tell me whether that was or was not, or was that just a reporter coming to visit your site?
I wasn't there. It was a reporter who visited our facility to do some due diligence, to take the effort and the time to really learn what these facilities are like and how they work in the community.
That's what I thought myself, but I just wanted to ask that question. And the other question I had, and obviously you've answered it in terms of there was a union member here earlier in disputing some of the things, and because that was a big thing, a big red light that hit me, Covanta labor relation and their treatment of the union. So can you tell me what the hell is going on?
We've been negotiating with Local 369, and we continue to, including to take the initiative, despite a lack of response from that union, on proposing a bonus program, which we have at other facilities. We've still, to my knowledge, not heard back from the union on that, but nonetheless, our Director of Labor Relations, who was here last week, reports that there is ongoing progress in those discussions, and we expect them to be concluded at some point in the not-too-distant future.
And the last question I had in terms of, unfortunately I wasn't here last week, was doing some of my own due diligence, which I'll speak about later, in terms of this particular topic, concern about the fines that have been levied against you. My understanding, I did hear you speak at the first one in Clarington, and you mentioned something about those were old plants that you had taken over from another company. Could you enlighten me on those fines and what happened there?
Well, that's correct. I mean, you heard about Pittsfield and Newark and Chester today. Specifically, those were facilities that have been in operation some time. We acquired those facilities from another operator and have been integrating them into our operating practices. Now, that's not an excuse for the exceedances there, but they are different technologies. Actually, all three of them are different from each other and different operating requirements, and we've conformed them, and as I understand it, we are continuing now to improve those records, and I think we're doing well there.
And here's a last question that you always think of when you're talking. If this goes through and you're going to be building us, we want an incinerator which is state-of-the-art. Can you guarantee us that? And it'll exceed all EU requirements and things like that?
I think there's no question that it will.
Thank you. Those are my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Novak.
Well, thank you very much. And I know last week I did ask you a number of questions on the labor issues, and I think you answered most of them. Again, they were brought forward by the gentleman from one of your plants. I think the questions were asked again, but I do have a couple of questions that are perhaps a little different, and I do want an answer tonight if I can get them, please.
I will try.
Whistleblower policy is very important. It's made its way into legislation here in Canada.
I'm sorry, which policy?
Whistleblower policy. The ability for employee, whether they're unionized or not, to have some place to go to be able to tell if wrongdoing is about. A number of corporations have taken the initiative to make sure that their employees have the ability to do this. Will you commit to making sure that your employees have a venue, whether it's through corporate or through whichever venue that it's picked, it's a corporate direction or a corporate policy usually, that employees, with or without a union, have a venue?
Yes.
Thank you. The second question I would like to ask you, and it's an important one as well. I'm trying to be fair. I'm listening to everything that's coming forward, but you're here today in front of all of us. What we saw in that handbook, is that a new version or the old version?
I didn't see the language, and I'm not familiar with the old version. I can't tell you, but the new version was scrubbed legally for compliance with law and to make sure that it avoided any future ambiguity. So the purpose of that was not to muzzle employees. The purpose of that was to avoid disruptive activities during work hours.
And I understand from what I've heard just now that you absolutely understand that it'll be upon Covanta to investigate each and every legislative labor law that we have, as well as our occupational hazards, the entire gamut, and you're going to fulfill those duties here.
We not only not have a choice, it is only responsible and appropriate good business to do so.
Thank you.
Councilor Pidwerbecki.
Yes, thank you. I just have a couple of questions. One is, and I'd like a little clarification on this 10% bonus, and I know that's a contractual thing, and it's been stated that perhaps that's been used as a leverage to plants that aren't unionized to keep the unions out. How does this bonus thing work into that? Or could you respond to that for me, please?
Well, it was raised earlier, perhaps by you, that when a facility is organized, wages, benefits, bonuses being a benefit, now become negotiated items. And we had always indicated we were prepared to negotiate that, but we weren't, as a matter of procedure, and we don't think it's legal, frankly, to just absolutely commit to that up front. And we think the union has an obligation to negotiate that in good faith, and as yet we've not heard back from them.
Would that kind of negotiation, would you be using that here, possibly in Canada, with a bonus system, or would that be premature at this time to question you on that?
Well, it'd be a bit premature, but certainly there would be incentive programs there. I mean, it is appropriate, is an appropriate mechanism in a total benefits and wage package to incentivize employees to work towards environmental performance, peak efficiency performance, and so forth. That's an absolutely workable and appropriate thing to do.
And I think it goes without saying, I don't think you'd have a choice, that if the union wanted to organize in-plant employees, if this goes ahead and you're going to be the one running it, that there wouldn't be any problem with them trying to organize that plant?
We'd honor it. I mean, in the U.S., if we try to interfere with that, it's illegal. We could be charged with unfair labor practices. It's an employee choice, and we'll honor what they choose.
So you don't feel that your 10% thing within these unorganized places has any restrictions on the people in there from voting for or against a union? They'd rather not have a union because of the 10%? Would that incentive have a mark on that?
I can't speak to some of the detailed logistics or the technicalities of these negotiations, but I think the employee knows that it's now up for discussion again, and there may be a bonus that comes out of that, and there may not be, depending on the total outcome of the negotiation.
If we had a fair wage policy here in the Durham region, which we don't yet, but plenty of the municipalities do, would you consent to that? It means that you would pay equal wages as a union, and some of the benefits and that kind of thing, and health and social services and that kind of thing would be honored. Would you be prepared to honor that, even though it may not be in place by the time you are in place, let me put it that way, if it goes ahead?
Oh, I think we would. I mean, our objective is to attract and then keep employees. We invest substantially in these folks. They're skilled people, and our success depends on their ability to perform, and encouraging tenure and long residence and accruing that experience is a very, very important part of that.
So I think what you're trying to tell me here is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you could live with a union representation and live alongside or work with them, and that wouldn't be a problem.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.